Welcome into another edition of the Hops and Spirits Kentucky podcast. We have a flight night for you here this episode. That's right, we're back with a flight night, and it'll be in the hoppy side of the world. But first, let's get some news and notes, as we haven't had a whole lot of updates recently as we took last week off. Ross and Squibb Distillery announced it will release the Remus Repeal Reserve Series 6 straight bourbon whiskey this September. This limited edition bourbon is the 6th annual offering of the distillery's award-winning Remus Repeal Reserve Bourbon Collection. Bottled at 100 proof, Series 6 retails for a suggested retail price of $99.99 per 750 milliliter bottle, and will be available in limited quantities in September. Created by master distiller Ian Sturzman and his team, Series 6 comprises 5 bourbons aged between 8 and 14 years from the Lawrence, Indiana distillery. Also in Louisville, the Merchants Ice Tower property at 801 Logan Street in the Smoketown part of town is set to become a new distillery and brewery. The $12 million project will be redeveloped in 2 phases, the first of which will actualize Trellis Brewing Co., and the second will introduce Ferncliff Distillery. The distillery will be developed by Beargrass Development. Ferncliff Distillery was a circa 1870 distillery that operated at 930 Lambton Street, and once reopened, it will be a small craft distillery. The Schaefer-Meyer Brewing Co. also operated on this site in 1889 and produced 50,000 barrels of beer each year. And in some sad news in Lexington, Fusion Brewing, which was located in the distillery district near Wisebird Cider, has closed its doors officially. There are several rumors, though, that point to another brewery potentially going in there, and it would be a second or third location for whomever takes over the space, so stay tuned for that. But up next is our flight night with JR of Blue Stallion Brewing in Lexington. We've got a full crew for it to enjoy.
Remember to check out Hops and Spirits on social media at Hop Spirits, all one word, on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also find Hops and Spirits on YouTube and at hopspirits.com.
Joining us here for the Q&A, or at least for tonight, it's the flight night, and we're going on the beer side here on Hops and Spirits Kentucky. We have with us JR. He's the head brewer for Blue Stallion Brewing in Lexington. JR, welcome in.
How you guys doing?
We're good. We have a unique lineup here. There's actually 2 of us in this window here. I'm joined by my wife, Emily Green.
Hey.
And depending on how it looks on the screen, JR also has a guest. JR, do you want to introduce your guest?
This is Stella, which is actually the company mascot for Blue Stallion. German Shepherd, German beer, very fitting. You might get some barks or some wines out of her later. She wants to play Frisbee. So, but yeah, that's our special guest.
I love it. I love it. And then here with us as part of the crew, we have from One Sip Beer Review, Derrick Young. Derrick, welcome back.
Cheers.
And it's been a while, but he was on a flight night back at the beginning of the year, and I decided to invite him back. Please welcome in Brandon Evans.
Thanks for having me.
And this time, Brandon, we actually have alcohol in what we're tasting instead of it being a non-alcoholic one.
That's a pretty good switch up. Yeah. So I hope I'm prepared.
So first up, JR, we're going to try the Kolsch. You want to talk a little bit about the Kolsch and what you've done with it?
It's very serendipitous you say that, because I'm looking at this glass. I brought it back from Germany. This is Früh Kolsch. So I had the pleasure of being able to live over in Germany for 6 months in 2015, and actually had never really had this style except when Lexington Brewing was making it back then. Of course, they discontinued it, and I kind of fell in love with the style of beer. When I was living over there, and when I came back, I was just a home brewer at the time. Really wanted to be able to make my own and put my own like little identity on it. Obviously, and we can talk about my comings into beer later, but now that I'm the head brewer at Blue Stallion, they never did a Kolsch before. I was like, this is a perfect opportunity for me to bring something that I got to experience authentically, and also just having a really good recipe that I made from home. So this is like probably my favorite beer. If there was a beer that I could only pick to drink for the rest of my life, this would probably be the style. I just think that it's a good crusher. It's a mix of, kind of like a Pilsner, but it's got a little bit of a, different ester profile to it. I'm not sure if you guys getting into that really from this glass that I provided you guys, but you kind of get like a kind of a sweet malt on the nose, and there's a little bit of like a pear kind of fruity characteristic to that yeast. And the dry kind of finish kind of helps accentuate that a little bit. Medium carb level, just really an all day drinker. It's only 4.8%. There's a little bit of crystal malt in there, just enough to give it a kiss. Then the hops are Tettnang, and then there's, I think, Middle Fruit and Magnum in there as well. But yeah, it's just a everyday drinker that I could just drink all day. All day drinking. I don't know if you got that part, but there you go.
Now, and what do you guys call it? Kolsch of the Con? Is that, am I
Yeah,
correct
so
on
like
that?
the actual can label will just say Kolsch. But like in the tap room, we're going to call it the Kolsch of Con. That's kind of a double entendre. So obviously the Wrath of Khan is from Star Trek. Not that I'm a huge like Star Trek fan or anything, but David Kahn, our assistant brewer, who is one of the hardest working people I know. And if you see him stack kegs 3 high, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But kind of the Wrath of Khan is his just actual strength dedication to putting out our wonderful beers. So it's kind of an ode to him as well. And also, I guess if you drink too many of them, you can also feel the Wrath of Khan or the Kolsch of Khan. But yeah, so that's kind of like the name and the background on that. What do you guys think about it?
Yeah, I can definitely taste a little bit of sweetness that you're saying. So you said it maybe has a little bit of a pear taste to it.
I mean, it's maybe more subtle, but I mean, there's not a lot going on in that beer, right? I mean, it's just
No.
Pilsner malt. So like there's not a lot of different complexity in terms of grain bill.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of like spiciness. I think this batch is a little bit more spicy than the last year. I still wanted, like I said earlier, about put my own identity on it. Even though I wanted to brew an authentic Kolsch, I still wanted to have some kind of flair to it. So the IBUs are a little bit higher on the spectrum.
Okay.
The ABV is like, I think I said 4.8, but it's actually 5%.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit higher in alcohol. But I think I just kind of rounded it up in terms of what the average beer consumer is kind of looking for. But yeah, I mean, maybe because I've had beer previously today, but this is the first beer I had this morning, so I know we were going to talk about it, but I get a little bit of a pear, and like I said, there's a little bit of crystal malt in there, just at 2%. It's something crazy.
I guess it has a little bit more flavor, Kolsch, than what you're used to other breweries.
Yeah. I feel like I'm gonna have to take the dog out because I think she just got her squeak ball. Oh no, thank God, it's just the tennis ball. The other ball is like squeaky, like it's awful. I was just like, oh shit. But yeah, no, I like this beer, and it's gonna be like kind of something that I'm always gonna tweak. We hope to get reverse osmosis water too, since we don't like have well water, and we're kind of at the mercy of 2 different sources for water in Lexington for breweries. So we're either getting it from Jacobson Park or from Georgetown, and they kind of changed their methods of sanitation. So like you could get a completely different or a blend of all these water or these things in the water. So an RO system would really kind of help me ensure that there's as few parts per million of calcium as possible to kind of really smooth out that finish, make it a little bit brighter and crisper. But again, I'm always a perfectionist, so
you can taste a huge difference from those different water sources.
I can tell because, like, for example, in terms of just the water, you really tell in the final product, because when you brew in the wintertime versus like brewing in the summertime, the water is just so completely different from runoff of things that are on the road, just getting it from different places. It really changes the entire flavor of the beer. Like I've brewed a Pilsner and it was just not as good as it was when I made it in the summer. But maybe that's only me, and maybe that's just anecdotal. Who knows?
That's so interesting, though. I would have never thought that was even an element to it. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, I mean that's why, like, when I started, really going crazy brewing when I came back from Germany in 2015, and I built this lab in my house. I was like, I want RO water. I want to start with a blank slate. So that's like the only variable you can control as a brewer is what's going into the beer, like in terms of the water minerals. So like you can obviously pick different grain suppliers. You can, for specialty malts or base malts or whatever, you can kind of like pick where you're going to get your hops, but you're kind of at the mercy of whatever store you're going to get them online when you're a home brewer. And then yeast, obviously, if you pitch healthy yeast, you're going to be, fairly happy, and you control the fermentation temperature. But yeah, water, I mean, that's the only thing you really can control. So I'm hoping that we can get RO water in the future for our pilsners and our Kolsch. I think, like I said, it would really help crisp it, make it more crispy and not as harsh because it won't have as much calcium. There's so much calcium in the water, and we'll drink the Dunkle later tonight. I know you guys have all had the Dunkle, but it really does well because of that calcium in the water.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that makes sense because, if you ever know anything about like moonshining or distilling, they always say that, the limestone water is the best. So
It's all that calcium, man. Seriously. Yeah. It really kind of helps. I mean, obviously there's some other compounds in there as well. But yeah, it's just so like you can go from being 30 parts per million to like 70 parts per million. It's like doubled in just a month time. And you're like, how in the hell did that happen?
So can you taste more of an effect in that in some beers than others, like more in the Kolsch than maybe in the darker beer, or does that have that dramatic of an effect?
I guess like the way I would explain it is like, have you had like Pilsner Urquell like from the source, or like a Pilsner from Czechia? It's like you can really taste like how soft it is. Like for me, like having the Kolsch in Germany and drinking it here, it's definitely more harsh on the palate than it is over there. Of course, they're using well water. I think the part of I don't know if it's German purity law, but it's like you have to get your water from a natural spring if you're going to brew, which is awesome. I wish we could.
That is awesome.
Yeah, but that's not going to happen, obviously, for us. A little too late.
Yeah, not in downtown Lexington.
No. But I mean, with the Kolsch though, I like it because I miss Lexington Brewing's Kolsch. That was one of my first beers when I got into Lexington. I just loved it.
Same.
So I like to see one be back, and I love this. I mean,
there's the strawberry Kolsch that West Six does, but no one does like a true Kolsch in Lexington. I know Atrium does their Kolsch, which I don't remember what they call that now. Is it just called Kolsch? Anyway, but yeah, there's not like a lot of people brewing this kind of style of beer, and I think that you look at the product portfolio for Blue Stallion, this is like perfect beer to add to the product portfolio.
When I gotta say, I was excited to see it in a can here today, because when I think of a Kolsch, I think of like laying in a pool, which this time of year, it's kind of perfect to be in the float and be drinking.
Oh yeah. Well,
this is a great summer beer.
We're doing a label for it as well. We met today about it. So I was just gonna say Kolsch on it, but just to give you guys a little teaser. So the Wrath of Khan, right? The Kolsch of Khan. So David is kind of a huge part of this beer. But he loves like old tractors, and there's a brewery, Erzquell Brauerei, that makes Zumtkäse in Germany, and on one of their flyers it has a guy on a Porsche tractor, and it says Meine Cabrio, Meine Bier, which means basically like this is my style of convertible, and this is the beer that I drink. So it's like a beer for the working man, for the farmer. And since he loves tractors, I wanted to get like him as a cartoon character on, because he has an old International Harvester. What the heck is the name of that? Something Cub, Farmall Cub from like the 60s or something. And it's all red. And I just want to get him in his like Dickies. You've seen David, right? He wears that Dickies jumpsuit, which is just awesome. But I want him in his Dickies, jumpsuit and sitting on that tractor, like, and holding a beer and say something along the lines of like, my convertible, my beer, kind of very similar ode to like my trip to Germany, but also like that beer style, and also his just dedication and work ethic.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. I can't wait to see that.
Yeah. But yeah, this will be the beer, hopefully it gets in cans and like people are drinking this poolside or just whatever. Honestly, I guess it's starting to become football season, so if you want to tailgate, that's another beer.
Don't have to ask me twice.
Now, Brandon, you're a little quiet down in that corner there. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome beer. I mean, I love it. It's, a lot of times when the experiences I've had with Kolsch styles, it's either it's supposed to be really smooth, really light, like, just one of those crushable beers. A lot of times it gets really kind of bitter, too spicy on the back end. But this, for me, it's very, I love it.
Thank you, man.
You could drink, I could drink 12 of these and not even think about it, but
it's a lot of beer.
Well, maybe next year we'll do this, and just to kind of hit on that is like, these little small Kolsch glasses. I mean, that's how they're traditionally served over there. I don't know if you've ever seen, like, they serve them in like this little carrier, and it's got like 10 or 15 or however many on there, and they'll bring them to your table. Cause like, obviously you could just shoot that, right?
Right.
But I would love to do something like that where you could like order instead of a flight, it would be like a container full of all these little individual Kolsch glasses that everybody could just like order for the table.
Oh yeah, that'd be
That's
perfect.
really cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
The glasses you guys have are a much more sturdy glass. And it's actually a Collins glass.
Mhm.
But if you order stuff like this, like I have another one of these, or I accidentally like put in a mug and the handle barely hit it and it shattered it. So that's why I want to go with the Collins glass, because they're a lot more sturdy that way. Because if you try to cheers this thing, you're gonna have glass in your hand. I mean, it's not a beer you want to cheers, but out of that glass, it's a little bit safer.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. Now I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
You talked about going to Germany and becoming a brewer, like getting into brewing. Is that what got you going, or were you into craft beer before that, or how did all that work?
It helped solidify it for sure. Just to answer a quick question. I actually just really didn't get into beer until, let's see, like brewing was until like 2013. So I was getting ready to finish up at UK, and my brother-in-law, which Derrick knows, Chase, he works for Norfolk Southern, so he travels for his job. And again, this is back in like 2012, and he comes back from one of his trips. He's like, "Bro, you got to open a brewery." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Dude, the beer scene is so crazy out there, man." It's like, "That's what I do when I go travel, man. I just go to all these breweries and stuff." And I was like, "Okay." I was like, I liked beer, but then that's when I kind of started to go to Country Boy in West 6th, and had just opened, and then Blue Stallion the following year, and that's when I kind of had a light bulb pop in my head, like, why don't I know anything about brewing? Why don't I know anything about opening a business? And then the rabbit hole began. So I met a guy, and he knew how to brew beer, and I showed up his house, and started as any home brewer would, just brewing out of a repurposed keg with the hole cut off the top, and then fermenting in buckets. And then we kind of formed a little LLC, which obviously is not open, but Righteous Minds Brewing became what became like my personal blog of my brewing adventures from 2013 to before I was let go from my engineering job. But I brewed every week for a year in 2014 with this guy named Logan, and then he kind of went to California. And then I kind of started to continue to brew. I kind of exceeded in my job very well, and went to Germany, came back, built a house. And in the house, I built a lab, which, Jonathan, you've seen, right? Brandon, you haven't seen it, but maybe you have. Maybe they've shown you this, but I have like a full lab in my basement, 10 by 15 room. It's all stainless steel, essentially. And I was like, I'm going to try and figure out how to make the best beer that I possibly can. And that kind of helped, this is one of those recipes. But I was, like I said, I was doing engineering at the time. That helped tremendously with what I'm doing now. But yeah, that's kind of how I got into beer, was just like not knowing anything about it and enjoying it. But honestly, really, it's what kind of kept me in it, is I realized how good of a community of people there are, how like-minded people kind of congregate in these kind of settings. And I felt like I kind of wanted to be a part of that, where it was more progressive thinking, or just like-minded people that was kind of all centered around craft beer that was carefully crafted.
I like that. I like that. And then now I was gonna ask another question, but I feel like we should go to another beer. So up next,
You're gonna make me chug, man? Come on now.
Well, you can hold on to it.
I know.
I mean,
He's got plenty too.
You do have
Otherwise,
two
we're
people over there. I mean, I can give some to Stella, but Stella, you want some beer?
For the record, we both cracked open our own.
The next one is the Bruised Orange. Yeah.
Yep. So I figure we'll grab the Bruised Orange now. Brandon, this is his favorite beer, but as I told him, you decided to switch things up a little bit, I guess, because you were a tinkerer and you just, that perfectionist. Mm-hmm. So can you talk about what you did with the newer recipe, but also why a Bruised Orange Pilsner? Because I think that is a unique style as well.
First, before we kind of go into that, I want to give Brandon Flown at Ethereal mad respect. He helped me kind of dial in this recipe. I had complained to him that it was the only beer on the menu that I wouldn't order. And I mean that's just how it was. Even the assistant brewer, we were not a fan of it. I think the first batch that it came out like way before I was there was really good, and it just never was up to snuff. Or honestly, we just didn't like it. So I was complaining to him about it, and he had apparently been thinking about it himself, like I guess on his own volition. And we said we had a couple beers, and we talked about some processes and different ways of extracting a flavor that we think would be a better suit for this beer. I'm going to try and check this Kolsch real quick so I can crack this open, because I feel like I got to at least drink it while I'm talking about it, right?
You know, I like to like save some beer for later.
I don't know. Over here, we've got plenty to go around.
I did warn JR that, you know, there would be some drinking tonight when we chatted earlier as he was getting all these beers ready. So, you know, so I'm doing my part here to let you chug, and don't forget water. Hydrate yourselves while we go.
Oh yeah,
Drink responsibly.
Just a side tangent. I had a old Louisville over doing a collaboration with him, and I don't know if you know Ken Mattingly over there, but we were arguing over what's the best drink in the world, and he was like beer, and I said no, water. Water is the best drink. Like this is a fun conversation. Sorry, but yes, stay hydrated, drink water. But onto this beer.
But more importantly,
got in the anniversary glass here, but so I think you can tell it's more hazy than it was before. And that's I was going for this, and it's going to be a byproduct of just how we treated this beer. So essentially what Brandon and I kind of agreed on was kind of fermenting this beer. Like I basically just made a brand new batch, like in terms of the mash, the bill, the grain, all the grain bill. So it's essentially a Pilsner that I then fermented with tangerine and blood orange puree to still get those orange flavors. I'd actually take a sip here. And there's a little bit of aromatic oil on it too. So like, I don't know if you guys still smell the blood orange, but
yeah, when I first poured it, you got a very strong whiff of that.
Essentially, I want this to just be like an orange Pilsner.
Yeah.
I think the tangerine really helps with making it seem more organic. I think before it didn't taste organic, and that's why we didn't like it. We could tell that it was we were trying to use an essential oil for flavor, and essential oil should be used for aromatics. So Brandon, I guess since this is your favorite beer, is this good? Is this bad? Should I just dump it all?
Put you on the spot.
Well, as Jonathan and Emily and Derek knows, I'm a blood orange junkie when it comes to anything that's brewed with blood oranges. So now, having probably had 50 or 60 of the last version, then this one is, I mean, it's head and shoulders better for me. Like
well, that's good.
It's literally like, I'll be honest with you.
Don't sound so surprised.
That should do my day
I
job,
mean,
right?
but
Like I'm good. Like okay.
I will say the last one though was, if you drink like 3 or 4 of them, but I loved them so much and I really cared. But if I drank 3 or 4 of them, it would get really sweet. And you could just kind of tell it was that flavor of sweetness would come in pretty good on the back end. But this right here is like way more refreshing.
Yep.
It's really crisp for me. And I could smell to me, it smells like I can smell like the zest of the orange.
Yep. Yeah, because I mean, you're going to ferment out all those sugars in that puree, but you're going to still have all that like oil left over. It's kind of like how, it's a completely different process, but like how gin will vapor distill to extract essential oils into their gin or whatever it is. It's a little different. I also added a little bit of wheat. So it's not a true like Pilsner. It's kind of almost like an American Pilsner. The wheat just kind of helps with the body. To kind of help with those, kind of balance out those the tangerine, the blood orange puree in there. But I mean, honestly, I've had people tell me that they've loved the old one, and then they'll have this, and they'll be like, "Yeah, it still tastes great." Like they can't tell a difference. I'm like, that's weird, but okay. But thanks, Brandon. The fact that you said that you can taste the difference, that's
I
awesome.
I can tell a big difference in it. Again, it seems like it's super crisp. You can tell it's fresher. I guess it would be a good word for me. It's just that really crisp, really fresh, super smooth. You get the hints of the orange and the tangerine coming through, but it's not overpowering at all.
This is going to sound super weird. My favorite part about this beer is when I burp, because I can taste the orange. I'm like, oh yeah, I want to drink more of that. Like,
I got a little nervous. I wasn't sure where you were going with that because I felt like you were almost whispering.
Yeah, well, it's kind of weird. Like, yeah, I like when I burp after that beer. Most time you're like, oh, that's awful. I don't. But no, this is like it's refreshing.
You burp.
Yes, I burp.
When did you change this recipe?
I brewed it. I have my computer up. I'll just tell you. It just came out this past weekend. So
okay.
Oh, that's like brand spanking new.
Let's see.
That would be new.
This. When the hell did I brew this thing? I brewed it on July 1st.
So do you have the new recipe in cans yet, or just on draft?
So the issue with the can label is that it doesn't show that it has puree in it. And I don't know if anybody has any like issues with that. So for me, just to make sure that everything is as transparent as possible, we're redoing the can label. So
you mean you don't want to get a marker and write on every can label?
Absolutely not. Absolutely. Dude, when I did the first barrel aged beer and we put a little spot on our bottles, like number 1 of however many, and then I went through and labeled them all. No. That's a no. That's a negative. So yeah, so obviously John Prine, this was a beer that was designed like in terms of like what the flavor was going to be, what the name was going to be, what the label looked like. This was something before me. So it's like one of those beers that I've had to kind of tweak and put my own little flair on. But the new label will kind of essentially be very similar to what is currently on the label. Obviously it's a John Prine reference, so it has some characteristics of his album artwork and whatnot, but it's gonna be a little different. Just
okay.
So I'm gonna leave it at that. Just give us a couple weeks. It's already on tap, but we'll hopefully can some with the new label in a couple weeks.
Okay.
And we'll touch too on your canning line that you guys now have. But
Yeah.
before I even ask that question, obviously we've talked now just through 2 of the 4 beers tonight, and it's been both of them one has been your recipe, but another has been one that you've kind of tweaked. I know you've done that with the Heffy as well. What's it like trying to balance that of something that people have loved and then putting your own spin, or at least kind of bringing it up into kind of current standards with kind of what's on the market and things like that? Like how do you balance that? Because I feel like that can be tough, because you might piss off everyone that loved the older version, and that could also go wrong.
Oh no, I had some of those genuine fears, but again, before I even say what I'm going to say, I want to thank the Donnelly brothers for letting me completely operate that business to my standards, and essentially giving me carte blanche and changing whatever I wanted to. I mean, they let me change the house lager strain completely, which is, I mean, if you're thinking, from a brewer standpoint or a business standpoint, and that not pissing off your consumer aspect, that's a very crazy thing to just come in and change. And also all the beers, but essentially what they allowed me to do is brew the batch one time and then see how the system works, see how the efficiencies are affected from batch to batch, because they can differ. If you brew a Helles versus a Russian Imperial Stout, your efficiency is going to be terrible. But a Helles, it's just Pilsner malt. You're going to get full extraction essentially out of that. But I brewed it once, and then I was like, okay, I did what you said, but now I'm going to do what I want to do, and I'm going to do water chemistry. I'm going to change the yeast strain. I'm going to like change the percentages of the grain. I'm going to make sure all these different ingredients are added, and that there was actually no like paper copies for anything. And that's really weird to me because I guess I'm a type A person. So like I was like, how in the hell do I know if I'm making the same beer anyway that they're making? I don't even think they knew except for the flavor profile. But the thing is, like, I kind of kept seeing this thing happen over and over again where I would, really go out in the tap room and I would see people's reactions to the Dunkle that had been around forever, or the Hefeweizen that I literally threw away the entire Hefeweizen recipe. I looked at the owner. I said, "Can I please change this?" He said, "Yes." I threw it all away, rebuilt it brand new, and it's one of our best sellers. I mean, I think it sells better than any beer that we have on the menu. And it's been a very tiptoeing balance of making sure that I'm not pissing off those consumers, but also like holding up to my standards of quality. I think that industrial engineer in me from my previous job, this is where this kind of comes into play. It's kind of led me to follow specific SOPs and brew beer in a specific manner, because I feel like if I am brewing beer to a very high standard, I'm not going to piss off the consumer at the end of the day because they're going to get a better product. And that's kind of where, like, the Bruised Orange, for example, is that like I was able to come in, change it, and Brandon, as a consumer sitting here, is saying he likes it. So it's been very rewarding. But it's also, I still have to be cautious. I don't want to, change the Dunkle like completely. And people are like, that's not the same thing. Like, what is this? And then they're just not buying our product anymore. Or like, hey, the Czech Pilsner tastes weird. Like, why did he change the hops all of a sudden? But I think I've done a really good job. And it's really just holding myself accountable and following SOPs and making sure I can make the best beer that I can with the equipment we got. Because it's from the 90s and it's unforgiving. But it works somehow.
Jared, I gotta say though, that kind of speaks volumes to you that the owner said, yes, please make those changes. And it's really obviously is working out pretty darn well. So I think that also doesn't go without saying that speaks volumes to what you've done too.
I've been very fortunate and very blessed. I think that my innocence was robbed working for a German company for 8 years and just following a very rigorous working environment. And I think applying that same methodology into this setting and just having a love for craft beer has maybe produce something good that they feel like I can completely change and do whatever I want at this point. It's really crazy. It kind of blows my mind because like a few years ago I was like, this would have never happened, but here we are talking about it. It's still kind of a dream,
I love to hear that. And what's it like kind of carrying on what Corey and Xavier and the whole gang of owners of Blue Stallion started, and then to build upon that, because that's really what you're doing. They laid a good foundation. Now you're building it up and kind of taking it into the.
I think what they had worked. Like the Dunkle did very well because of the water chemistry, and that recipe's really fucking good. But like they did a very good job of like setting the groundwork for me. I mean, one of the things that I'm just happy that they've let me do is redesign the logo, the presentation. And I think that now we're coupling good product with a clean, simple logo. I mean, Derrick's here wearing the shirt, which I'm surprised I'm not. Maybe he should be working for Blue Stallion, not me. But we've coupled good product with great branding, and we have our new social media person, and I think they do a really good job. Sawyer, shout out to them. But yeah, kind of ushering in that new wave, which is funny because that was one of the beers, Infinite Wave. That was one of the beers that I brought for my job interview. I brought a Kolsch, a Kentucky Common, a New England IPA, and a Pilsner. And except the Kentucky Common, they've all been on the menu. And
I was about to say, I didn't think that one had made it yet.
Yeah, I have a Kentucky Common recipe. I just haven't brewed it yet. We have all these other beers, and we only have so many tanks. But just to kind of finish your question, is like it's been nice that they laid this foundation, and they've been so trustworthy about letting me change everything. Even the logos. I mean, all the new label designs. I mean, we're gonna drink the Dunkle later, but I mean, if I held the old one next to this, like you would want to pick this up off the shelf. This looks, finally appealing. And I always felt weird when I was there brewing the beer. I was like, I feel like all this hard work that I'm doing is not presented on the very, back end. So it's been cool kind of doing this whole brand refresh. We started in November of last year, and it's a slow rollout. It's very time consuming and it's a lot of work. And, we're meeting twice a week, then we're, figuring out color schemes, which I'd love to show you the Oktoberfest label.
That's my
seen it.
favorite.
I've seen it. It's nice.
This will actually, so the actual logo, I'm going to show this on my phone. It might be super bright, but the actual Blue Stallion logo will be black. Just give it a second to kind of.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
It almost looks
Where's my battery?
3-dimensional.
If I can get it to, but the Blue Stallion logo will be black, but it's going for very on the nose. Our moniker is boldly traditional, and we're a non-frills brewery. Like, we do some cool shit. We do some sours, we do some fruited IPAs and shit, but like we just go for classic. This is what the expectation for this style is, like the Kolsch, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been fun, kind of redoing it to my liking, and them just allowing me to.
I was gonna say the Bruised Orange Pilsner. I don't remember having the original one as much, and that could just be because like some of the other beers. Well, there's a certain beers I gravitate
He's
towards.
a go-to kind of person.
I'm a what you get with me. That's the best way to put that. But no, this is delicious, as you can see. I'm pretty much
honestly
with it all.
I'm not trying to be whatever, but I'm liking this more than the Kolsch right now. Maybe but see, the thing with the Kolsch is like, that's like my shift beer, right? It's like I'm like hard at work, I'm sweaty, I'm gross, like I'm drinking that beer. Like, they were just like chilling. This is a good chilling beer.
No, I like that a lot, and now we're gonna, unless everyone needs to catch up. Hold on.
Look at this. I
Well,
can't do it this fast.
Okay.
Hold on.
Okay. While she drinks it, I'm gonna give a funny story. So
okay, perfect.
and it was about
Thank you,
when I was
JR,
in
for supporting
Germany.
my drinking.
No, so like there's the Kolsch is serving these small glasses, right? And I went to this festival. And this is kind of two-part story. I go up to the tenant, or whatever you want to call it, to hand out tickets for this carnival or whatever. And I was like, I'm gonna get 10 tickets, like 10 beers. Like that's a pretty good amount. And this guy that I was friends with, he was actually a farmer. He's like 21 years old. Of course, drinking age over there is 16. Big guy, very big guy. I mean, like he could play football over here. Big hands, like Muhammad Ali, like just incredible. Anyway, he comes like dancing over to me, like, and he's got like in his meaty claws, he's got these like almost like a cartoon, like the tickets hanging from his fists, and they're like hanging down to his kneecaps. And he comes right over to me. He's like, "How many tickets did you get?" And I was like, I got 10. What did you? He's like, I got 50. I was like, holy shit. And then we proceeded to drink that night. And then like they knew I'm American, so they give me a Kolsch. I'm like, okay. And then I drink one, and then they hand me another, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll shoot this one, and then I'll drink that one, and then I start drinking this one. They give me another one, then I have two, and I was like, okay, I'll just drink that one. And then like I couldn't drink them fast enough, so they started to like multiply. So then I had like one in each finger, and then I had like two on the table, and so like literally like I just drank them all, and then I just left because I was like, these guys are gonna kill me, dude. I can't. So I had like probably 10, maybe 15 in like a 30-minute window. It was not good. Hopefully that story was long enough to buy you a drink there.
Brandon, come on, all y'all. Just like,
I want everyone to know though, Brandon,
What?
it's not me that's making us take our time here.
I
What's it
mean,
be?
y'all know that I'm professional, okay? So I will get it together.
so now we're gonna go on to the third one, the Lexapolitan. You want to grab this?
Yes,
All right.
I can.
All right.
This is
two
actually
beers
the
in.
old label. Out of all the old labels, this is the only one I liked.
I like it, and it's funny too because our daughter was literally wearing a dress the other day that looked like she would be the perfect model. So if you're looking for a small child to model your beer, we've got it.
Whoa.
About a underage.
Whoa, her
Maybe
mother
not.
has to consent to that. But we do
You
have this
can't
shirt.
drink it.
Yeah.
So
no.
I actually tried this earlier when I stopped by the brewery, and man, it is sour.
Oh yeah, that lime.
So I'm gonna love it then.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Good.
Yeah, it made my jaws, I guess, tight.
Is it doing it now? I feel like your jaws are clenching up now, just probably thinking about it.
So for those that don't know, the Lexapolitan is a Goza.
Yep.
Pomegranate, lime, hibiscus. Now, did
Yeah,
you do
so-
anything to this recipe?
I
either,
did.
or-
I did.
So there's a theme.
There's a theme here.
There's a
Certainly.
theme. There is not a beer on the menu that has been brewed the same since I've gotten there.
Except for the ones that you brought. Or even those
that.
have you tinkered?
Even that, I've changed those. Like, I mean, dry hopping schedules. Hi, Stella. I know you want to go play. Dry
That's all
hopping
right.
schedules.
She got a little bit of sour face over here, little lemon head warhead face.
Yeah, so I actually wanted to make this a little bit more shelf stable because I want to put this in cans and can this on our canning line that we can talk about in a minute. Yeah, so this is pomegranate, lime, and hibiscus. I fermented the puree instead of adding it post fermentation, and then after that, I aged it on hibiscus flower for a week, and then made a tea with it. I think that's fantastic.
I love it.
Like, it's crushable because like last time, like I feel like when I made this, it was almost like a little bit too messy. There's a lot of like particulate in the glass. Like, this is now just a very solid representation of what this should have been. It's
What am I
actually-
tasting? What am I tasting in the front? Like, I'm getting lime at the back, but
You might be hibiscus flower.
okay.
So it's weird sometimes with certain people's palates. You might taste like cinnamon.
I'll have the cinnamon taste.
Okay. Sometimes like key lime will give like a cinnamon flavor for some weird reason. Yeah, so the new label is done. It's just we have all these old labels which still work perfectly. So we're gonna use the rest of those and then switch over to the new one. That's also kind of hard to kind of juggle the logistics of all these new labels designs, but then you have like old stock, so you can have to like run the old stock but still order the new ones in time to still have it, so you're not without a label. What do you guys think about this?
I mean, I like it. I like sours. Yeah, it's the one I tried in the tap room was really sour for some reason. This one's a little bit lighter on the sour side.
Brandon, what do you think? You like sours?
Surprisingly, I mean, it depends on the sour, but typically I don't gravitate toward them because sometimes they're just way too sour for me. But I think this one is really good.
Thank you.
You know, it is sour, but like Derrick mentioned, but it's not too sour for me. I think the first drink I was like, ooh, okay. But then now after that, I've had 3 or 4 more or 5 drinks, it just kind of mellows out a little bit.
Yep.
For me, it's got a weird, I don't know what it is, but
it's probably pomegranate. Pomegranate's weird.
yeah,
Pomegranate's a weird flavor.
but it's weird in a good way for me because it reminds me of like a fruit punch Gatorade is what it kind of reminds me.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know why that is, but I mean,
Maybe that's good.
You could throw in some electrolytes in this, and then man, you could brew it with some
Lawnmower beer, legit.
Yeah.
It can be a healthy beer.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey,
Hydration.
I'm a much more of a fan of this. Like I was going for a crushable. We made 15 barrels of this, so we're gonna have this around for a while. Again, I want to do a lot of cans of it. But yeah, I think this year the shelf stability to me has been kind of something that I've been trying to chase since I've gotten there. I'm a process guy essentially at heart, so like I'm always changing everything.
I
No
mean, you
beer
don't
will
want
ever-
was it Pints and Panels that does the everything's okay sitting there as the fruited beer explodes all around her.
Yeah, no,
so
like
you don't want
this will
that.
not explode in a can. Like this is not gonna happen. Same thing with the Bruised Orange. Like I'm trying to put this stuff on shelves, man. Like
Yeah.
and like
But-
it's one thing to do like a test batch or like a small run and do like something super crazy. And I don't know. We actually have I'm gonna say one other thing before I go into that. Brandon, you probably also like this beer because I know you said you're not a huge sour person. It is a Goza, another German style, but I think the wheat malt in there kind of helps give it some body. So it's not so sharp sour. It's a little bit more full body sour. That kind of complements it in a good way.
That makes perfect sense to me now that you say that. I hadn't picked up on that before, but now that you say that, that really that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Well, that, like my first, a lot of people will say sour, but Goza and sour are
Interchangeable.
cousins.
Yeah,
cousins to me. But like the Sierra Nevada, the Goza that they used to, brew was one of the first that I had gotten into, and like you said, it's more a full-bodied beer. That's not a
right. Yeah,
just
so
pure
like
pucker up.
that's like the Patch
face.
Kids. Like the Patch Kids essentially is a soured Helles. I mean, it's literally a Helles that was purposely kettle soured, and so it's gonna be a lot more sharp in terms of the sourness than something like this. And that's what I was gonna. So actually, I brewed another batch of Goza, which then I split into the tropical Goza. And I know you got a thing on here talking about what's coming up next. So the tropical Goza will come out next week, and then I have a fall Goza. It's going to be rhubarb, apricot, and blackberry.
Yep. Sorry. Just me. Oh, what day?
Release date.
You had me at rhubarb, but then you kept.
I'll tell you what. If you can give me a good name for that, then maybe I'll give you a can of it.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah, because like we were going for like fall vibes because rhubarb just came in season, and I was like, what goes with rhubarb? Apricot really helps it.
Well,
Rhubarb
you
actually
immediately
grows by
reminded me
itself.
of a pie that we make in our family.
Yes.
So
Yes,
I was automatically going to Granny's recipe here. So
What's the name of the pie?
strawberry rhubarb pie.
I'm trying
That's
to
not a
help
great
you.
beer
Yeah,
name.
Derrick was like, we almost had a name there.
I know.
I could go grab Annie Boo Harris's recipe book real fast. She's got all kinds of Southern charm in there. It's a handwritten recipe book.
What was her name again?
Annie Boo.
There you go. Name it that.
They're from the South. They're from the South. Let's just
Name
look
it
at
Annie Boo Goza. There you go.
Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to do with this beer that I didn't get around to doing, just because I'm still new to our barrel program, because I've had to give it life. It had nothing. I had to give that thing CPR, or I just let it die and then just had a new one born. However you want to look at it. But I wanted to rum barrel age the Lexapolitan. I think that would have been cool. Yeah, a few months in a rum barrel.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I might still be able to. Well, it's already carbonated. There's no fucking way.
I don't know. I think if you did that, my husband would make it up the stairs at the end of the day. We'd be leaving this interview and he'd be going up the stairs alone.
Yeah, so
I'd be
I know, Jonathan. Unless you want me to kind of just talk about it, or if you want to say anything about it, but the barrel program.
Well, I was going to ask because we've talked about this. I know that's something you've been working on a lot. I mean, with the what have you called it, the
Boss Battle Series.
Boss Battle Series. So starting a barrel program, because people think, oh, it's simple. Really, it's kind of not, because as anyone that drinks bourbon knows, you put it in there and it's time. You got to do time, and then you got to hope what you get out of it is good, or that you can mix it with something to salvage it. So what's it like on the beer side of that? Because you're taking barrels from potentially a bunch of places. Because it's not like you can get, sometimes you can get a lot of barrels from one place, but like you said, you're looking at rum, you're looking maybe at tequila or other things that you can age in
different
wine.
like different char levels or
Yeah,
weeded barrel or like
rye, all sorts of different things. So
rye
like, how does
barrels.
that work for you? And as you're building up the barrel program, because obviously at the end of the day, you got to have time and you got to let stuff age. What's that been like?
I'm a very humble person, and I will be completely honest. I had absolutely zero fucking idea what I was doing when I started the barrel program because I had never put a beer in a barrel in my entire life of my almost 10 years of brewing. Just because when you're brewing at home or on a small scale, you're never really going to find a barrel. It's not going to be worth your time. You're going to, soak some oak chips and some bourbon and then kind of use that to extract the flavor. You're never actually going to put fresh beer on a freshly dumped barrel. So, with Blue Stallion, I took what was kind of currently existing, which was their boss battle series, which I like because I'm a video game nerd. So like all these characters and stuff and like just changing the characters because Nintendo gets really weird about IP theft, changing the characters just enough so it's completely different. And then releasing some stuff has really been kind of cool in terms of the presentation. I think the bottles, I mean, even, this glass we put out for the 9 coins and the Super Donnelly Bros, which was that was the most successful barrel aged beer that we've released. That Super Donnelly Bros was incredible.
That was like one of my favorites, man.
Thanks, man. I have a little bit more that I'm gonna put on tap for Oktoberfest.
Just save them all for me.
Save them all for you.
Yeah, I like the bottle.
Like, what?
I like the bottle art too. That was awesome.
Yeah, the labels are really cool. Like we're trying to bring back this like 90s flair to some of this stuff, and I think that's very something that people can relate to. I think a lot of people that are drinking beer like this are around our age, and we grew up in that era. But for the barrel program, like honestly, it was a crapshoot. I, got luckily linked up with a lot of good people. It's been so like, I talked about the beer community earlier and just how embracing it is. But like honestly, just being in it from my perspective, I felt like it was like I was almost like gate kept from the industry for so long, and then now that I'm in it, everybody's like, "Hey, you want a barrel? I got you. Come get it." And I'm like, "Whoa, okay, this is weird." So, Castle and Key, for example, like, holy hell, they are some of the most amazing people, friendly people. Just they make a really good product. I mean, the grounds that what they've been able to do is just a feat itself. But them allowing me to kind of get some of their barrels, I think that we had the first Castle and Key bourbon barrel filled with beer in the state. So that was cool. We put the Oktoberfest in it. No, the Marzen. We put the Marzen in it, which is essentially an Oktoberfest. But yeah, so I mean, with the barrel program, it was a crapshoot. I was experimenting, just putting different beers in and doing something slightly different. So I don't know if you've kind of noticed, but I feel like when you look at most barrel programs, it's heavy stouts or porters, and that's it. I'm going to do that, and I have done that. But I kind of wanted to put the Blue Stallion flair on it. So like we have a Weizenbock, the War Admiral, that's aging in a Castle and Key bourbon barrel. The Marzen, for example, the Schwarz beer. So this is going to be those two beers, the Schwarz beer, those three rather, the Marzen, the Weizenbock, and the Schwarz beer are all going. Those barrel aged beers are going to release for Oktoberfest. So the Schwarz beer is going to be May the S'mores be with you. So it's going to be a s'mores themed beer. The Weizenbock that's barrel aged is going to be like an ice cream, like hot fudge sundae kind of thing. The barrel aged Marzen, I'm just going to leave it just strictly barrel aged. So there's a barrel aged Oktoberfest option essentially. But I kind of wanted to like just add. I mean, even with the Super Donnelly, it's the Donnelly Irish Red, aged in a Four Roses barrel. The one I just aged on toasted coconut, cacao nibs, and vanilla. But I just feel like I wanted to add something different so that like you don't have like, for me, I don't know how your guys' cellar looks, but I have 20, 30, 40 bottles of beer downstairs, and most of them are stouts that are barrel aged.
I'm sorry, did you just assume that every married man has a cellar downstairs?
It's not a cellar. This is a basement. It's just colder down there. It's 65 degrees versus 72 or whatever.
Sorry, Jonathan.
One day. But no, you are correct though. Pretty much everything that is put out barrel aged is a stout. And as I've done this, that's not my style. That's her style. She loves them. I don't, but I love what a lot of European breweries have done when they've done some aging. They've done a lighter beer in a barrel, and that has been wonderful. Or a rum barrel or something like that. And not everyone does that, because usually it's like a Goza with a rum barrel, which I love, but not everyone kind of does like what you're talking about, doing some of the lighter styles in a barrel aged, because to me, that's wonderful. You bring out that caramel and all that, and it's just delicious.
I will tell you though that most brewers look at me like I'm an idiot when I do this shit. And I told you it's a crapshoot, and I'm learning. But it's worked out somehow. They're like, you're putting a 4.8% beer in a barrel? Are you insane? I'm like, yeah, fuck it. Like, let's go. Like,
it's okay if it's only 8% or 9%. It doesn't have to be 20%. Like,
let them taste that
certain
Super Donnelly.
You need a certain alcohol percentage in a beer to kind of help with things from potentially manifesting in the bottle during the aging process. So like you typically want something that's like at least 6-7%. So to put in like a 4.8% beer is like unheard of. But I did it, and it's not out yet, so it could be bad.
That goes back to that timing thing of who knows how it'll go. But no, I love that. And
I don't want to compete with other breweries too. Like, I mean, you got Ethereal and they do Baba Yaga. I mean, you got Miratuna does Chernobyl. You got all these other places that do stuff. I mean, I'm like, I want to
cake with West Six.
Yes, snake cakes with West Six. What is the barrel program that Rockhouse does? I can't remember. They have like the Monolith, I think. But anyway, I just wanted to do something that was kind of more in our lane, without trying to step on any toes, but also add a little bit of a flair to it. And, you know, what I've seen sell well is when I add just enough adjuncts. Like if I add vanilla, like if I'm just very tender and add something that's just going to help accentuate. I mean, like the Super Donnelly was like literally eating a Almond Joy. It was
amazing. Yeah.
I
think that's one of my favorite that you put out lately.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I literally made that call at the last second. I was like, I'm gonna make this barrel-aged bread. What am I gonna put in it? I don't know. I want to make it sound like it's not as grandiose as possible, because again, man, I'm just, you know, a very honest person and very humble person, and somehow we make stuff work, and I'm very, very happy. The brewer gods are on my side for some reason. I don't know.
It must have been those that time working, you know, for that German company. They felt you've earned it.
It's true.
No, I love the beer, and they're not paying us to say that. I promise. If you're listening, and so as we continue to move on, we don't have time to do too long. Our fourth beer is the Dunkle, and how excited are you to share the Dunkle?
I told you a little bit when you're at the brewery, I still wanted to have something that was going to be like a staple. Like, I mean, this is like the bread and butter, right? Blue Stallion. This is the beer that made Blue Stallion. This is the beer that will continue to live on. So I'm happy to have been able to recreate the label to something that's a little bit more sophisticated, simple, classy, but also simplistic and eye-catching. So I have my Stein here.
Oh, I should have grabbed my Stein.
I think I bought this when I was in the
No, we're good. You don't have to get up.
Do we do ziggy zaggy, hoi hoi?
Yeah. Prost, guys. It's the final beer. Thanks again for having me. And let's try a beer that we've had a billion times, but I find myself coming back to. Yeah, I find myself coming back to this more and more actually when I'm at the brewery.
Well, too, Jared, when Jonathan and I first moved to Lexington 7 years ago, Blue Stallion was actually the first brewery that we ever came to. And so it's kind of funny for us that we came and we tried, because you all have the 4-ounce pours, or the 3-ounce, 4-ounce pours. And so I can think back to fondly actually becoming well past intoxicated, drinking the 4-ounce pours and then coming back and back over and over to the Dunkle. So that was quickly, Blue Stallion quickly became a place that we frequented at that time, to the point where we literally had our gender reveal and baby shower and everything else at Blue Stallion. So it's kind of funny that this beer is kind of a staple in our house.
It's the serendipitousness.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of a small world.
No, just, I started this podcast, talking about the Kolsch and the serendipity of just like, I'd bought that glass when I was in Germany and stuff. But like, what's hilarious for this conversation is that the serendipitous in this aspect is this beer is what kind of got me into craft beer. And now I'm able to make it. It's wild. It's been something that I've held true in my heart, especially for just Lexington craft beer scene. I mean, I really think Lexington just makes some of those incredible beer, like Mirror Twin. I mean,
Yes.
it's exploded. Ethereal makes exquisite beer. Even Rock House is fucking killing it.
Yeah.
Obviously I feel like I'm trying to do something, so I hope people like our beer. But like, this is the beer that got me into craft beer, and I've been very blessed to have been on both sides of the spectrum for Blue Stallion as a patron, all the way now to crafting it and then drinking and talking about it. Hey, obviously, you guys are drinking it. So, what do you guys think? Is this up to snuff to the old batches?
Absolutely.
Did you change anything? It was just minor changes to this recipe?
Minor changes.
Okay.
Yeah. So like the house lager strain is different, which I just think has a better flavor. But the only thing that's really changed is the water chemistry. This is the only beer that's as close to style as all the others, or as the old Stallion, if you will. I call Blue Stallion the new Stallion when I'm there. I don't know. It's not going to catch on. It's just a thing that I use. But yeah, so like I was like, well, okay, the water's already great, but we could even out the mouthfeel if we add a little bit of gypsum, calcium chloride, Epsom salt, whatever, depending on the water profile. And then I think now it's perfect. It could have a little bit better head retention. I'm working on that. Our system is very old.
Yeah, because your
very
system came from Detroit, am I correct? A long time ago, or is have you upgraded?
Somewhere up
like,
north.
and the best part was when I talked to Corey and Xavier and all them about that was that had been around for a while at the brew house up there.
It was commissioned in
came down.
1997.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying
And-
technology's come a little way since then?
Well, just like, you look at newer design systems and, part of industrial engineering is like ergonomics. I mean, with that system, you're running up and down the brew stand and around. Like, I mean, you look like you're running around with your head cut off when you're brewing that system.
Keeps you in shape.
It's
But I
younger
mean-
than all of us, though, so I feel pretty good about that.
But new systems, like all the valves are like on the brew stand. Like, so essentially you can make all precision changes or redirect product from whatever vessel to whatever vessel, all from a very, small footprint. Our system is not the case. All the temperature probes are not accurate. So I'm like double checking temperatures, double checking like flow rates, double checking like just like the boil off. Like, I'll typically a beer should be boiled for 60 minutes to 90, depending on what beer you're using. I have to add 30 minutes onto that just to get off the 10% reduction of the volume of wort, and also to ensure that there's no precursors for anything that could add some off flavors downstream. So it's like it's been fun brewing that thing, but it makes good beer. Like I hit my numbers perfectly. It's just there's some quirks, just like
all
as
of
we
us.
get
We're
older.
unique. We're unique.
Exactly. We're all like just slightly annoying and then certain aspects, but we're great.
So
A lot of-
Brandon, Derek, what do you think? What do you think of the Dunkle?
Well, for me, I remember when obviously Blue Stallion opened. I remember like this being like the flagship beer from basically kind of day one, right?
Yep.
Well, you kind of mentioned that it holds a place in your in your heart, because I remember the first time I went to the Hofbrau House in Northern Kentucky, and I had the Dunkle there, and I was just like, and it kind of got me in the craft beer scene. I was like, what is this? You know, fresh out of college, and it's like now I'm seeing this whole new world outside of Keystone Light, and
Classic.
you know, so I tried the Dunkle there, and it was like, man, this is the best beer I've ever had. And then not long after that, moved to Lexington, and then Blue Stallion, Dunkle, rest is history. And I mean, it's awesome. I mean, you can't beat it. And everybody gets kind of scared of it because all darker beer, things like that, or whatever. But it's.
And if you pour this right, and if it's made well enough,
yes,
it's not going to be heavy.
No,
It's not
absolutely.
going to make you feel bloated. You could have 4 of these.
Yep.
And be happy. You know?
Yeah. 100%. You're exactly right. So yeah, I've always loved this beer. No, you know, any and all variations of it, but you guys do it phenomenally well.
You know, it's a little bit different too. Like if you look at the style guidelines, it's a little different, and I kind of like it because it's become this thing special in my heart, right? So like I've had Dunkle in Germany, right? This is not exactly like 1-to-1, but somehow like this has its own lane, and I think like the recipe that they designed, like I guess they were trying to put their own like flair on it.
Mm-hmm.
It held up, like those like toffee flavors, those like caramel flavors. I mean, it's very light, but like you get a lot of flavor from the Munich malts. It's just it's a good crispy Dunky Boy, which is actually what I was going to say.
I was about to say it.
Dunky Boy.
It's on the bottom of the label. It's on the bottom of the can.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
I
so
did not know that.
So we call this Dunky Boy at the tap room. And then we call the Czech pills, we call it Crispy Boy. And then for the Hefeweizen, we just call it El Jefe because I mean, why not, right? But yeah.
That's awesome.
It is the boss. It is the boss.
You know, typically this isn't my type of beer, but I've forgotten how good this is. Like I haven't had it I haven't had it in a long time, and
That's
it's
how I feel.
awesome. Yeah.
Like I felt the same way. Like it's weird because I make this stuff, right? And like I mean, obviously I'm drinking it throughout the whole process and stuff, but like I'd find myself, and I said that I think when we cracked this open, I find myself coming back to this beer more often. Like I'm like, this is really good. Why don't I drink this shit?
Right.
Well, that was like when we were at the craft bash, and you know we were pouring the Helles.
Yeah.
The Helles, some of those darker beers that y'all do, I don't go to them. That's because they're just not normally my style. Like just traditionally.
It's my job.
That's hers. We have to change beers when people bring us the beers. I get the fruity one. She gets the.
They automatically assume that he's ordering the darker beer, and then they have to trade. Yes.
But you know, hey, look, Jackie, my girlfriend, she loves the darker beer. She like wants a Russian Imperial Stout. She wants a porter. She wants like all that stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. So we go through that, and then, but like the Helles, there's several of those darker beers that y'all do that are just friendlier. You know what I mean? Like people don't realize how approachable they can be. And I love that about what you guys are able to do and what you've been able to bring.
You know, essentially like again, we're trying to like brew beer like to like the old way, which is kind of a part of a marketing thing, but also like it's just a pain in the ass way we brew our beer. Just because everything like lagers for at least 30 days in the tank. I mean, it sits there for that long to kind of help everything like precipitate out and like age and just develop a little bit of flavor. Sorry, Stella just like ran in here. I think she really has to go outside.
That's all right. We watched our child crawl into our bed during this.
Oh, okay. What was I saying? What were you saying, Jonathan?
Just the approachable, darker style of beers that y'all do, the traditional styles that I think really from Europe. Germany.
Yeah, we like the Hellesbach, the Bach Sabbath that we do. Like, you know, it's a higher ABV beer, but it's a fully, you know, attenuated beer. It ferments all the way out. You know, it ages for I think a good duration of time. and it's put into a customer's hand. I think that it's very approachable for anybody, whether you're a dark, beer fan in terms of color or light. So like, you could drink a Dunkle or Helles and not feel bloated or heavy or all that stuff. It's really nice.
All right, now I've asked a lot of questions. So what does everyone else want to ask JR? You got him on record. You can ask him questions. Derek's got a question.
All right. So Patch Kids, when I first started drinking Blue Stallion, has always been my favorite. And the variants that you've come up with have been amazing. So there's another one that I haven't seen on the menu in quite some time. And I'm wondering if you'll bring this one back and, add your twist to it. The smoked lager.
Bro, it's so funny you said that. Are you kidding me? Wait,
I love smoked lager, man. It's awesome. So you're gonna bring it back?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna brew.
I just did that yesterday. How'd
You've
you
been
know?
waiting.
No, like
for
I
this
literally
moment.
like yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, I mean it was
See?
Sunday, but I'm still working, bro. Seriously, yesterday I was like, I need a Stella. Come on. She's like bringing me the ball. I have all the grain for it. I'm only gonna brew a 1-barrel batch because I've never made this beer before, and I don't want to like make a 15 or a 10-barrel batch of it because the smoked lager ends up becoming like this weird flavored, like it's like bacon and then it's ham and then it's like awful after about a
Brandon's
month. So,
like, what about that is awful?
Well, that sounds delicious.
give me more of it.
Throw in some maple syrup in there, and then we've got
Right. So the smoked lager is going to come back for a limited time. I'm going to see how it goes. You're only looking at like 400 pints of it, but
Well,
yes.
if you want somebody to test it out, let me know and I'll come. Yeah.
I'll take 200, and Derek, you can have those 200. That'll be all right.
Jesus. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, you might need to brew
He's like,
more.
whoa, should I double that up?
So Derek, real quick, if we go to Brandon, like what was your favorite Patch Kids flavor? Pink strawberry, blue raspberry,
I like the one that you let me try today. The
pineapple
mango. Yeah, but strawberry was probably my number one. Yeah,
I agree. That was so good. The blue raspberry is very good, but like it's not for everybody.
Right.
I'm gonna start scaling these and like actually have them on tap all year round. I'm thinking if I can get the pure.
You think you would ever do like a small can release of these? Of the sour?
Oh yeah, I have the labels already. I mean the problem with like from my side is like I was like, okay, I'm gonna do Patch Kids like kind of like inspired flavors, and I only made like 3.5 barrels of each. It sold like hotcakes. So by the time I even got the labels in, I didn't even have enough to label. So I was like, well, I might as well just sell it on tap, brew it again, and then try and can it. But yes, look forward to those being in cans. I'll be brewing those next month.
Okay.
And then hopefully have cans again. I'm trying to have these all kind of year round.
I'll tell you another one that
Sours
I know
have become year round. I mean, it used to not be, but they're year round now.
Yeah.
And I know another one that a lot of my followers liked were the Beastie Boys.
Yes.
The Imperial Sours.
Yeah.
And those were very limited as well, weren't they?
Yeah. So we're actually brewing a collaborative beer with Scout and Scholar tomorrow. That's where the Beastie Boys kind of came from, which I want to make sure I tweak those like labels on the Beastie Boys because that is a collaboration beer and it only shows our logo, which I didn't realize until after they were printed. I was like, shit, Scout and Scholar is not shown on here. I feel like an asshole. Anyway, but
they will make you pay tomorrow. Just
we're going to be making an Imperial Kolsch tomorrow, and then I'll talk about the stuff coming up soon. But we're going to brew that Beastie Boys again. I kind of want to have that series released like twice a year if we have the time. Scout and Scholar is like so rapidly growing. Getting them on the schedule to brew something is damn near impossible. But yes, the Beastie Boys will come back for sure.
Okay.
And the MCA
album
flavor will always
releases,
change.
Just an album release every year.
There you go.
That means I get a free beer. Any other
Brandon?
questions from
Yeah,
the
Brandon,
crew?
you got any questions, man?
Yeah. Now I may have known this once upon a time, but I probably drank too much of your beer and forgot about it. But for everybody that's listening who has been to Blue Stallion Brewery or who hasn't been to Blue Stallion Brewery, what is the story behind the Paul Bunyan bar?
Or which story do you want to tell?
well, that too. Like, I mean,
Look, man. We go in like a million directions here. There's funny stories. We're the world's tallest bar. Like, oh, it's for horse to ride up to so they can order a beer off the horse or whatever. Or you can, just be like, hey, the guy who built it's a moron, or whatever. It's probably that latter of all that. But no, the idea was it was supposed to be a standing bar. One of the third owners, Nico Schultz, German guy, he's like 6'8", and the slope to the floor, like, I mean, you've seen our place, but like there's a serious slope, and it added 5 inches to the height of that bar. But when they started building it, they started at the corner where it, like the top of the slope, and they're like, oh, this is perfect, we can sit right here, blah blah. And so when they built it all the way around, it ended up being 5 inches taller than it was supposed to be. But still, I was like, wait, 5 inches, because it needs to be like a foot lower. Dude, there's so many people that come in here like that can barely even see over to the bar. My plan is, if we're doing so successful with this canning line acquisition, which, I mean, essentially we're renting it, but it's to redo the bar, to redo the whole front of house, have a better setup.
Whoa, you're gonna get rid of the classic bar?
Everybody knows about the high bar, man.
We tall people love it.
I don't know if JR loves it.
Ooh.
I don't think she loves it either. Look at her. He's passed out back there. Anyway, man, fuck that bar. Hug that bar. I want to take a sledgehammer. I want to do some office space. Basically, I want to office space that bar, and I want to take a sledgehammer. I got one at home. I'll bring my own sledgehammer, man. Whatever you want.
I was gonna say, I mean, with that bar height though, and kind of the bar setup, with what you guys have expanded to now, with Mike and everyone on the bar manager bringing in cocktails, everything. I don't assume that that's set up correctly, which there might be some people on board with that.
Yeah,
but I like the height. Just deal.
I mean, think about it from my perspective. I'm a perfectionist, right? So like, I've come in and I've taken their beer and I've changed it and I've changed the labels. I feel like the next step is to
change the bar,
have that slowly like percolate into the tap room to have a full transformation. Is it gonna happen? I don't know.
We walked in again circa 2015, 2014, whatever it was, and we're both fairly tall people, and of course I like to wear tall shoes on top of it, which puts me at 6 foot or taller. And so I personally feel like that bar was made for us.
Hey! That's the other thing though, is that like the people that come in that have never heard of us, that live in Lexington or like just moved there, they're like, oh my god, I've never been here before. That's such a tall bar.
We love it.
We've been around for 9 years. We came all the way this oh man.
Brandon, any other questions? Because you've got the floor.
Well, I mean, the only other question I have, but you mentioned earlier that you were going to talk about some other things coming down the line, but I was going to ask if you've got some cool up and coming stuff that nobody knows about.
Perfect transition.
Or if you could even tell anybody, it might be a top secret thing. I don't know, but just any cool brews coming down the line that you want to tell us about, because I mean, I'm already excited because you got me drinking 4 beers. So
yeah,
4 beers in an hour plus.
Exactly. Yeah.
Perfect transition. So I'll kind of just like explain what we're kind of brewing this week with no ETA on timeline for release, but also kind of then highlight some other stuff we're doing. So tomorrow we're doing a Scout and Scholar collab that I mentioned, which is the Kolsch, brewing a milk stout. completely new beer.
Woo!
Never done one. At least for here, I have a recipe from 2015 that I've tweaked. I think it's really good. We're doing a Belgian Blonde. I don't know if you guys got to try the Goldilocks zone, but it was super popular when I made it. It was only a 1 barrel scale. So we're scaling this up to 15 barrels. It was that big of a hit. We're doing an Atrium collab next week. We're doing a sour New England IPA with 2 experimental hops. And I can't remember what is the puree? Peach and something. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And then
Love a good
we
peach
have
nipa.
It's catching on.
we're doing we're kind of doing 2 things right now, and I haven't really kind of figured it out. We're gonna start, like, again, I talked about like the barrel age series, like staying in our own lane and like doing beer that's like in our realm. So I'm gonna start doing like dry hop pilsners instead of like trying to make like hazy IPAs all the time or like new hops. I want to do like essentially a party pills line. You guys got to probably try the Keller beer.
Maybe don't
Essentially-
call it a party pills though. Party pills? It just sounds weird. Just saying.
It's everyone loves the name though, and it sells very well. People like
Party pills?
I like the
Party
name.
pills. And so it'll be with different hops. So like the one we're brewing next week is the Rawaka dry hopped version. So it'll be party pills with Rawaka, and the next one will be party pills with Motueka or Azaka or Galaxy or Nelson Sauvin or any of these like New Zealand or Australian hop kind of categories, kind of taking a new twist on European pilsners and just dry hopping them to give them a little bit more characteristic. So those are kind of in the pipeline. We're gonna be doing beers with that. You see her bringing toys to me now.
You gotta give her more attention.
Let's see. We have the Tropical Goza that I mentioned, which is coming out this week. The squeaker is broken. Did you break it? Okay. Anyway, that was a terrible throw. Yeah, the Tropical Goza, and then trying to find a name for the Goza with rhubarb, apricot, and blackberry. And then let's see what else. We're doing a West 6 collab soon. We're kind of gearing up for our 10-year anniversary, which I know is not for almost another year, but trying to do some cool stuff with Country Boy and West 6. Then Oktoberfest. So yeah, our Oktoberfest comes out the 2nd in cans as well. I showed you the label for that. And then we'll have some cool barrel aged beers come out for that. We'll have the Pineapple Oktoberfest come out. We'll have a Oktoberfest test batch beer. And then what else am I missing? I'm missing like 5 things, but
I remember when you all did the Pineapple Oktoberfest last year. Oh my God, that was the best one.
what,
from
that's
Angel.
so, isn't it so wild that it's that good? It shouldn't be that good.
Yeah.
It was. And we were like all surprised.
I love all the other breweries, but you all beat it with that one for sure.
Thanks, man.
All right, it's your turn. You got questions? I've asked all the ones tonight.
My only question was, can I get back to you once I review Annie Boo Harris's cookbook on naming the rhubarb apricot?
Sure. Whatever you want.
That's your last thing. You have a chance to.
That
ask
was
a
my big question. Well, it's so in all seriousness, thank you, Brandon. In all seriousness, though, we've talked about a lot of different beers, but we really haven't talked any about one of my favorite beers of yours, period, like to the end of all time, which is the Kama Sumatra. And so I didn't know.
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking at like, oh, but
He's ready.
I mean, do we do any more coffee related? I mean, that I know for me, like I'm a huge, any beer that has coffee in the description. It doesn't even have to be in the name. That's probably the first thing I'm
Coffee
gonna order off of.
blonde, coffee
Yeah,
stout,
that's the
coffee
first thing I
whatever.
order. You have
Coffee
anything like
I'll
sour.
that?
answer this question if you'll let me run to the bathroom real quick, because I
Okay.
have a perfect answer. for
Cool.
that.
I'll get Annie Boo Harris's cookbook.
We got beer to drink.
I'm trying to answer multiple questions. My brain just needs to answer one at a time. So the Kama Sumatra, most people will always order it as
Sumatra.
yes. Can I get the Kama Sutra? Like the Kama Sumatra?
Kama Sutra. Yes, Kama Sutra, please, for one.
Yeah, isn't that weird? Anyway, so that was a beer that was done before me. The porter recipe actually I redid the entire porter recipe, and the porter by itself is amazing. And we switched from magic bean coffee because it gives it like this almost like peppery flavor to it. But Nate's coffee is actually really good. But I'm brewing that milk stout, and I'd love to do coffee as a variant of it. So coffee milk stout. That's where I was going with that.
What about a coffee patch kids?
That would be weird.
That John is
A sour coffee? No.
Well,
like everyone's
they've done it.
face.
People have done it. You loved one.
To
You
be
loved
fair.
one.
Anyway, people have done these like blonde stouts, right?
Yes, they have, and I've had
know.
every one of them.
Blonde stouts are awesome. I don't know
Mm.
why they're not brewed more often, but
They're my
friggin-
favorite beer of all beers, if I have to be honest. Like if I see a blonde
really good.
coffee, something or a blonde stout, I am in not just for one, I'm in for all eternity.
Those are really good.
I like the petting though, the petting miss.
I'm trying to like fight her a little bit. She wants her ball. She wants to play. She's high energy dogs. Can't help it.
Well, we've been going hard tonight, so I guess for the last question, unless anyone else, Derek, Brandon, Emily, anyone else
I'm
got
good.
questions?
I'm reading recipes right now.
Okay, this is where we're going. Okay, so obviously you're building things back up. You've rebuilt the foundation was laid. You're building upon that.
Yeah.
What's kind of next? I mean, obviously you've redone labels, you've redone recipes, you've redone a little bit of everything, even though you're not rocking the gear tonight. You've redone that. You guys have worked on color schemes, which from my perspective of a PR communications guy, I love the branding. I love color palettes, all that stuff. But I mean, you can only fix so much for so long. And I don't know if, Corey and Xavier and all them will let you break down the bar. So what's kind of the next thing you guys are working on that you can talk about and not get in trouble?
I
As
can't
Brandon
tell you.
said.
The only thing I can tell you about is the canning line, but everything else I can't talk about. It's
All
still
right,
in
so
the
we'll talk
works.
about that after I hit the button. But you do have a canning line, so I assume that means you guys are going out further in distribution.
Yeah, so
So
right
that's-
now, we had Ironheart, which is a mobile canning solution, come out, and they were canning or big flagships. So our Chick Pills, our Dunkle, and our Hefeweizen, which we'll be adding Hellas to shortly. We're going to start doing 60 barrel batches of that now. So we have a brand new design label for that. Can't wait for you guys to see that. But yeah, I mean, so with this canning line, we'll because what we had before was an express fill 4-head filler, and it was very time consuming to fill, and have these like specialty cans. That's why like our canning game was essentially lacking because there was no way to have two people brew, schedule, order ingredients, facilitate, package, and get it on tap, and also cans. So that's why our cans have not been as we haven't had that many variety of cans to go. But with this, we'll have flexibility. Luckily with Mirror Twin, God, I love Derek and I love Mike and Doug and all those guys over there. They upgraded their canning line to a 10-head filler. So we got their old 3-head filler, but they have allowed us to rent their current one. It's going to be kind of like a rent to own situation, and see how it goes. So we've been kind of really, I've known Derek as I meant to say this earlier. I've known Derek DeFranco, one of the owners at Mirror Twin, since he was a brewer at Blue Stallion. That's actually when I met him. I was at Blue Stallion, ran into him, met him, and we've been friends since. But yeah, I love him, and he's been very helpful, trying to let me put my own flair on the Lexington craft beer scene. But yeah, the idea is to have more cans available in the tap room, more cans actually available in distro. So like even Lexapolitan, like I want this to be on shelves too, but like we'll self distro this where like Kentucky Eagle will sell this. So that way we can still sell some cool stuff that's shelf stable. on and put it on shelves. So like our IPAs, our sours, we'll have those as a complementary aspect to what's currently being provided. Something that like West 6 IPA or Country Boy Cougar Bait. They have all these other brands and stuff too. But I want to be able to like give, in this day and market, like you got to give the consumer everything. If you don't give them everything, you're going to fail. So I think having the canning line is going to give us the flexibility to just give people the access to beer easier, which is what I want.
Well, I mean, it definitely helps, especially as we've seen, people like to grab it and go, pick it up in the store, things like that. And it's cool to see. And I'm excited to see what you can do with that canning line. And, hopefully it doesn't give you too much trouble.
Right. Yeah, no, I literally just got it operational today. I got all the parts and everything perfectly. Like I'm pretty happy. So now we just got to hook it up and pour beer through it, and hopefully we don't waste a bunch.
There you go. There you go. Well, if you haven't, guys, check them out. In Lexington, right there on West 3rd. Is it West 3rd? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, West 3rd. I said that and I was like, oh crap. I drive by there all the time. All the time. West 3rd. Check out that high top bar that JR just loves so much. Also, their salt and vinegar food, which we really didn't get to touch on, which is doing some amazing stuff. And JR, Brandon, Emily, Derek, thank you all for having a flight night with me. And this was a lot of fun.
Yeah, hopefully I was a good guest. I don't know. I feel like we just rambled for an hour. It was, but yeah, at least it was over beer.
Appreciate it, JR.
Thanks for having us.
Yep.
Let me kind of talk for Blue Stallion and kind of show what we got and what we got coming up, and I'm blessed and happy. So thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.